It looks like they came straight out of jail.
Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining us tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. We've got a packed show for you tonight. Today, Tuesday, April 19th, the Supreme Court has temporarily extended access to abortion drug and set a Friday night deadline for themselves. NASCAR fines penalizes Richard Childress Racing #3 team. 2 cheerleaders were shot in a Texas supermarket parking lot after one opened the door to the wrong vehicle and is fighting for her life in the ICU. A suspect was in court today while Ralph Yarl recovers at home, and just days earlier, a 20-year-old woman was shot and killed after her boyfriend turned into the wrong driveway in upstate New York. And to top it all off, an Oklahoma County commissioner resigned today because his conversation, caught on tape, talked about killing reporters and was laden with racist remarks. NBA playoffs, is your team in or out? Laguna will be late, but I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about that. And the NBA suspends Warriors' Draymond Green for stomping on Kings' Domantas Sabonis. Was the suspension warranted? U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin privately tried to reassure his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, that the Biden administration is taking steps to prevent further leaks of classified information after a trove of Pentagon documents appeared online this month, to Israeli officials said. According to Axios News, Fox settles Dominion defamation lawsuit for $787.5 million and more. First up, if we can fit it in, and more if we can fit it in. First up, I said that all backwards. How crazy.
Well, you were probably thinking about that $800 million settlement, and it probably threw you off.
Yes. So, Stephen.
Well, never mind.
Stephen with NASCAR, please.
Well, I hope everybody watched it. I'm sure people that listen to the show probably watched it. It was Martinsville. It was a great race. It's one of the better races of the entire year. They do it twice, but this is really good. It's almost shaped like a paperclip. It's a really short track, about half a mile, but it's great racing. These new cars are perfect for it, and it was competitive the entire race. This was the first race, I think, this year. Maybe a couple more, but it's one I really enjoyed that was here. Kyle Larson won, which kind of hurt me. I didn't, but I'm glad he won, but it didn't personally help me. But he's won 2 races out of 9 races this year, and he's in the top 5 of the points. But Christopher Bell is in first place, and my boy Christian Ross is in second place. Harvick's in third. I mean, Chastain Ross. But Kevin Harvick's in third. Basically, it's shaken down to be a pretty good year. Richmond has left a bad taste in my mouth. It was not a good race. So we're going to have the remedy. We had Martinsville, which was good. It's really nice to see good racing. But we have Talladega this week. And this is the one, if you're not a race fan, just watch it anyway. It's over 200 miles an hour. Everybody's going crazy. It's the biggest race. It's amazing. And if you haven't seen the movie Talladega Nights, go watch that before this comes on, or afterwards, or whenever you feel like it, because it's so funny with Will Ferrell. It kind of enhances NASCAR. It doesn't really make fun of NASCAR. It just brings out what is really kind of funny about NASCAR and all the silly stuff about it. So it's going to be a great race this weekend. anybody can win. This is a track that that's a few drivers really can do well at. And one of the guys that is just a phenom at Talladega and Daytona is Bubba Wallace, and he needs it. Michael Jordan's not happy with him. He's not having a good year. Hadn't had a good time, with the team since they brought him on. They need him to do something. If he's going to do something, it's going to be this week. I'll take him top 10, if not top 5 this week, because he really does well at these places. Anything crazy can happen, but going into this week, there's a few drivers that can really shine here, and he's one of them. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. So if you can catch it or tape it and watch it later, or whatever you feel like, this is going to be a race to watch so far this year, one that I would highly recommend.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I said, thank you, Stephen. We're going to go straight to the NBA. And is your team in the playoffs? And the second question is, what did you think about Draymond Green's suspension?
No, my team is not in the playoffs. Didn't expect him to be in the playoffs. It's okay. And Draymond, yeah, he needs to be suspended. That's just silly. He didn't have any reason, except maybe he thought, I'm just in a bad mood and maybe we're not gonna win here, and I'm just gonna step on somebody. And he got 1 game. It's no big deal. I would like Aguna. I can't wait for what he's gonna say about y'all's team, because y'all are gonna be doing pretty good. Y'all got, I don't know why he's not Joel, but he's Joel Embiid. But he is phenomenal. Joel.
Yeah, but sometimes Joel Embiid will hog the center. He'll hog the middle, and nobody else can go to the basket or try to get a basket because he's hogging it. And sometimes he doesn't make it, which has caused us some problems earlier in the season.
Well, maybe they can iron that out a little bit, because the whole team, a lot of the players on the team is really, really good besides him, and they help him look better. They help him do better. And if he can remember, it's a team sport like everything else, and it's not just all about him, and he's going to be a diva, then he needs to kick back a little bit and play as a team and be, give it up every now and then to other people. He won the MVP, right?
Well, he's a diva, and you know all about divas. But the question is, do you think because of his history and his reputation that they gave him that suspension? Had he been anyone else, maybe he would not have been suspended?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Did y'all see that cup?
No, what does it say?
Can you tell? D-I-V-A.
Diva.
Oh, D-I-V-A, diva.
So, yeah, I'm a diva too. So I can't help it. He can't help it.
Yeah, you're a diva.
Yeah. And did they do it on reputation? They do a lot of things on reputation. Did they do it to expedite the game a certain way they might want to have it? Maybe they did. I don't know. But
I mean,
things happen.
Don't you think that's going to affect Golden State's overall chances?
I can't even say Golden State, and I just did. And it's like a cuss word coming out of my mouth right now, because they really hurt me. I've been having a lot of fun with the NBA playoffs and with the hockey playoffs. I've been having a lot of fun. I've been nickel and diming my way and watching the games, staying up way too late, like to 1 o'clock watching games, because I got a little tiny bit of skin in the games. But Golden State, they can't play on the road. They're going to win every game at home. If you want to make $1, bet on them to win at home, because they're going to win. But if they can't win on the road for some reason, then they destroyed all my faith in them for right now. But I don't know if they're going to win. And the suspension didn't help, and things are not lining up their way. I think they're in trouble this year, which could be a good thing for a lot of other teams coming around.
So let me share the screen. We didn't want to see that young lady. So I moved that immediately. But I want to share the screen and show you what this Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks today, 9 p.m. on NBA TV.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
We have the Boston Celtics
Yeah.
versus the Atlanta Hawks.
But that's easy. That's an easy game. The
Friday
first game
at Atlanta, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said that's an easy game. Boston is like the Harlem Globetrotters from years ago. They're crazy good. It's effortless. Everything they do has been effortless so far. And what was the game before that? That was a little bit harder than that. The
Miami
Bucks.
Heat
Yeah.
and
the
Milwaukee
Bucks
Bucks.
should. Yeah, the Bucks really should win that game. And if they go up 2-0, it's almost impossible when any team playoff goes up. It's not impossible, but the odds are really against you. And I think it's going to turn Milwaukee tonight. And that's who I have. That's how I'm let's say bullish on the Bucks tonight.
Hey, did you say the Harlem Globetrotters? Are they?
Yeah.
Are they still in the league? I mean, are they?
They're not in the league. Keith.
No, they're like
Todd.
they're like professional. They're like professional wrestling, but they only have one opponent. They always play the Washington Generals.
They also played the Celtics.
I
don't think so, man.
Yeah,
Not the Harlem Globetrotters.
Like 20 years ago. All right, let me move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, and the Brooklyn Nets. You see, they've already played 2 games. 76ers and the Nets.
Mm-hmm. You won both.
They play Thursday at Brooklyn at 7:30 p.m. You see that we won both games.
Yeah, see, you've won 2, so you really should advance. If analytics is correct, you should advance to the next round. You should feel confident right now. If you don't, these things happen.
See.
But I would bet that y'all would advance, and maybe they're going to grab one at home. I would think.
They have to grab one at home. I mean, it'd be crazy for them not to grab one at home.
Right.
And then you see the next one, New York Knicks is tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, that's tough.
And they play Friday in New York at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah. Well, just because take the home team and flip a coin, maybe. That's a really tough one there, Stacey.
All right. Then the Western Conference, Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. They play tonight at 10 p.m.
Right. Well, you got to go. The Nuggets have just far outclassed them. You just take the Nuggets, but I don't know if you want to lay a bunch of points or not. That's always the confounding part. I mean, you could take just the money line and not win a lot of money, but sometimes you can take the money line and you can go with the over/under. But take it from me, the over/under has destroyed. I can get all the games right, but I can't get the over/under right for some reason. If I need them to be under 150, that it's going to be 250. I don't know what it is about it. I can't get the points right like that.
And then we have the Los Angeles Lakers over the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Lakers are leading. They play tonight at 7:30. They already started.
Yeah, and Memphis, maybe my favorite player in the league may not be playing. He may be hurt. He hurt his hand last night really bad, so he may not play.
Would you say what his name is for people who don't know who your favorite player is?
I can't remember his name at this point because he's not going to play. So because he's not playing, which really upset me, I went with the Lakers. I took a really big swing at the Lakers, and I think the Lakers do have a fighting chance because this is what LeBron does. LeBron sits out, and he's hurt for the entire year, but he comes back for the playoffs. I don't blame him. He's my age almost. He's closer to my age than he is most of the people on his team. So he lays out and he comes back, and he's got so much talent, so much ability. Even at his age, some other guys don't even. He's forgotten more basketball than they'll ever learn. So I think the Lakers do have a decent chance tonight. And if they win, then it's pretty much like I've been saying, it's kind of maybe a little bit over. But the Grizzlies have got a great team. With missing a player or two here or there, they could still win. They are freaky good. But I just think the Lakers might have it this year. But it's going to be – it's almost a coin toss. Huh?
Was he in his late 30s or something?
Who, LeBron?
Yeah.
LeBron is 51 years old.
What?
He's not.
Nah, he's 30-something. I don't know exactly how old he is.
Saying that. He's not that old.
No, but I mean for basketball, he's an old dude.
All
You
right.
know,
Then we have, if you look at the screen, we have the Sacramento Kings leading the Golden State Warriors. We were just talking about that. They play Thursday without Draymond Green, who was suspended for one game.
Right. Yeah. You gotta like the Warriors at home. You have to. But without him, it's going to be funky, funky, funky. I don't know what the spread is. Did they have it on there, Stacey? I missed it. I don't know what the
they
spread
didn't have
is.
it on there.
Yeah, it's funky, funky missing him. He's a huge part of that team. And they can't lose. They cannot lose this game. If they do, it's the odds are so far against them to win it all. So I would just stay away from that game. It scares me to death. But there's something about Golden State at home. They are phenomenal at home. Better than I think anybody else.
Then the LA Clippers or Paper Clips with the Phoenix Suns. It's tied. They play Thursday in LA at 10:30 p.m.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm gonna like the Clippers on this one. The Clippers are pretty darn good. They could win this whole series and move on pretty well. I do believe. I like the Clippers. I would assume they're for sure they're a favorite. I don't know yet, but I like them a lot. And I would take them in this game. I would take them and lay whatever.
All righty.
4 or 5.
I'll take the Dodgers.
Well, they haven't been the same since what's his face left. Since Willie Mays left the Dodgers, they really haven't done anything. I know, since Michael Jordan left the Dodgers.
That long ago.
All right.
How would you know how long ago it was? You're not even a sports person.
I was back in the days of Willie Mays. And,
well, Todd, you aren't a sports person.
Excuse me.
I was back in the day.
Are you high?
Todd can tell you everything about tennis in the last 10 years or 15 years.
You might call me an old school, you know.
Yeah,
or
you can tell us everything that happened in the 70s.
Call you old.
Yeah.
Todd, we do not do age discrimination.
No.
Oh, I don't care.
Because we'd all be discriminated against.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You and
Keith
would be discriminated against.
Just me and Keith.
I don't look 67.
And Aguna.
I know.
How old are you?
I'll be 67 in June.
That's why you don't look 67. You're not 67 yet.
Oh, please. More like 70.
I don't know why he would even tell anybody that. So
I can't believe it. I thought you were in your 50s.
Of course, because you're in your 90s.
I feel like it sometimes.
See, this country is not America anymore. So I have to go back to old school when we were America.
Why don't you go back to Africa where you came from?
I didn't come from Africa. I was born here.
Ma'am, you came from Africa. You may hate the idea of it.
I was born
Nevertheless, it's true.
I was born in the USA.
Okay,
he was born in East LA.
Where is your motherland? Where is your motherland? You know, everybody else, like Steven, your boyfriend, he has a motherland and he talks about it. Where are you originally from, Steven?
This is it.
I'm a Native American.
Everybody has a motherland, like Jews talk about.
I'm a Native American, Todd. I was born in this country.
Talk about
Rubio.
Oh gosh, never mind.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you. So we're talking about the Pentagon leaks. Senator Marco Rubio accuses the Biden administration of downplaying the Pentagon leaks, saying it's a big deal. Basically, he said the leak will require a comprehensive evaluation of how the country classifies documents, how they are compartmented, and how people have access to them, and how they are secured. We know that, or I have read that there are a lot of young people in the military who are doing computer programming or data mining or things like that, and they have access to this classified information, and it rarely leaks out, but it did this time for this gentleman. Should there be more stringent, Keith, protocols for documentation for classified information?
Well, I'm surprised that they were already that it hasn't been already. I mean, after going through what we did with Watergate, Nixon, way back in the day, back in the 70s. Once again, I refer to the 70s. I mean, if they haven't done it by now, then what's the use? I mean, do they really?
Watergate had nothing to do with the military.
Well, my point is, she asked about documents. So, classified documents. I mean, is that important or not? That's my point. I mean, they haven't done it, so it must not be important. What do you think, Stephen? I that's the way I look at it.
Well, I didn't ask Stephen yet. Could I ask Stephen if it's okay with you?
But Stacy, so that's my point. My point is they could have done this a long time ago if it's supposed to be all that.
Could have done what a long time ago?
The Democrats, they've been running. Look,
Democrat. Oh my gosh.
Also Republicans, but Democrats.
What are you talking about?
Democrats have had control since Obama.
Control of what? The military?
Well, yes, they've had control of the military. Obama was the chief executive. He was the chief executive, so he had control of the military back then.
Okay, let's move on because this show is getting dumber by the second.
No, wait.
All right, so let me present this, and then let me get Stephen in here because we already had Keith. So this is his name. You see the picture?
Yeah.
Air National Guardsman. He's accused of posting a trove of classified documents to social media, and his hearing was postponed today after a judge granted a request from lawyers involved in the case to have additional time. So this young man, only 21, was posting. He always wanted to be. What I read was he always wanted to be in the military. He lives in Brighton, Massachusetts, which is right near the New Hampshire border. And his stepfather worked as a sergeant in the same unit that he worked in, but the stepfather had retired. His name is Jack Teixeira. And his stepfather retired, so he's still working there. And he started posting all this classified information to some friends on this website. And then when they acted like they didn't believe it was really classified information, he started taking pictures of it to show them that what he was posting was real. I guess he was trying to prove that he had this. And once he started posting the pictures, then the FBI and other governmental authorities became involved. So, Stephen, this is the type of thing where this is a young man, 21 years old, 22 years old. I don't think he may have had the correct maturity or judgment to be able to realize how serious of what he was doing. So shouldn't there be some safeguards in place to keep certain people from having access to classified documents? Because the other two people, like Chelsea Handler, she was young. And then there was another young woman who leaked documents. They were young. It seems to be some sort of pattern.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard to stop because way too many people have that kind of access. And when you have such a huge amount of people having access to sensitive information, these things are going to happen. And, other countries don't have leaks like this. China and Russia and others, they don't have leaks. They have a system that keeps this from happening because I guess they take care of everything internally. And this guy here, I don't know if y'all know, like they're gamers and they're a little group of people. They got their own little group. He's not trying to share it with a lot of other people in the world. He just has younger guys that are younger than him that he's trying to impress. He's in the military. He's trying to impress these people, and that's what it is. I don't think he had any nefarious bone in his body. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he, like you said, Stacey, he's immature. He's trying to impress his friends. He's doing things that young people do a lot of times to impress people, and this got him in a lot of trouble. And he made let go of a lot of information that is huge, and some information is not as much. But this is it's. I'll get back to my main point. we have way too many people that have access to stuff. We need to that's where you need to tighten it up.
Okay.
And because other states are tighter, you have to tighten up.
All right.
Okay, so Cousin Todd, he let some things out about the Ukraine war to his friends.
Right.
And if I scroll down, it says that he was on a social media site called Discord. If you can see that. Can you see that?
No, but that's okay. I knew he wasn't just posting to his boyfriends like Stephen just said. He was posting to the public. Did you read the site he was just on?
But Stephen was right though, Cousin Todd. Stephen was right in that.
About what? Be specific.
He was right in that he was posting to who he thought were friends. It's a community. He went into a community of people who he believed would be interested in this classified.
Wait a minute. See, this is trick talk. This is Republican trick talk. They don't know. They're not friends of his. Oh, we went to school together. Oh, we dated. Oh, no, they're not friends of his.
Excuse me, Todd. That's old school. That's old school. Today, friends have never met. They meet on social media. These kids today, 21 years old.
You don't know what you're talking about, Todd.
Todd, you sound like an old man. Todd, you sound like you're 80.
I'm going to move on with reality because I can't deal with this Fox News fantasy that you people live in. These weren't his lovers or boyfriends or whatever you call them. These were strangers he was giving information to. You cannot do that. He's in the military. And so
you're right. You can't do it.
Therefore, he has to be punished for that.
Yeah.
You cannot give out information like that to the general public, even if you think they're your friends. Right. They're not.
Right.
So his age has no bearing on this. He's not 16. And you people think a 16-year-old can buy an automatic rifle.
No, we don't.
So, sure you do.
No, we don't. You think a 16-year-old can vote?
Oh, so wait a minute now. You said that maniac that shot up those people when they were protesting Black Lives Matter, he wasn't 18 and he had an automatic weapon.
He didn't have an automatic weapon. He didn't have an automatic weapon.
He had an automatic weapon that he used.
Bet me $1,000, Todd. Bet me $1,000.
And so now you're saying now he's trying to confuse the audience.
He didn't have an automatic weapon.
He wasn't 18 and he had an automatic weapon.
He did not have an automatic weapon.
You just said 18.
That's your ignorance about guns.
I want you to
nobody's walking the street with automatic weapons, Todd.
Under 18 years old be able to should people under the age of 18 be able to have those weapons of war? Yes or no, Stephen?
We have no weapons of war, Todd. Okay, that's an expression that the left made up. We don't have weapons of war.
Now he's not answering. So I'm going to move
on. I'm saying we don't have weapons of war.
I'm going to move on.
We have, we have some postings. Some people said, you gotta love YouTube, said Uncle Ruckus, LOL, and that 12-year-olds can get married. I don't know what they mean by that, but
I don't either.
I didn't see it.
I'd say yes, Todd.
So anyway, Todd, get to the question instead of going around about. Go to the question. Answer the question, please, so we can move on.
I was answering it, but then I got interrupted by Ruckus and his cohort. Yeah, he had no business doing that. And this term you people use from Fox News is friends. They weren't friends. He was sharing information with strangers, and he cannot do that.
They were gamers. They were friends.
Had he, you can't quiet your peanut gallery down, I can see. Had he shared this with one or two people, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yes, it would.
He shared it, it would not have been. He already did
one of those two people could have shared it with the whole world.
I'm moving on, dumb. You don't even know the story. He
shouldn't share that information. He shouldn't share the information with anybody, Todd.
Shut up.
Todd, he shouldn't share that information with anybody. It's classified.
That same thing. Shut up. Nobody's talking to you. I'm talking to Stacy in the audience.
You're just embarrassing yourself.
He shared that information with 3 of his friends.
All right, I got to move on.
Nothing happened. Oh, you wait a minute. This is so Fox News of you. I can't stand it.
Thank you.
You
Speaking of
allow
Fox
these
News,
idiots to interrupt in it. Do you know
go
that's
ahead.
a learned
You know what,
behavior?
Todd?
They
You
were
know what,
taught
Todd?
that through the
You
Tea
know what,
Partiers.
Todd?
I
You
saw
know
a
what,
class.
Todd?
They said,
Todd,
talk,
you know
talk,
what?
talk,
You know
talk.
what,
Don't
Todd?
stop talking.
Todd,
Talk over them.
you
Just
know
say
what, Todd?
anything. Just don't stop talking.
That's
And
right.
that's what they did, and you fell for it.
Todd, stop engaging them and make
I don't
your
engage
point.
them.
You did
They
so.
won't stop talking.
So
Stephen-
ignore them. You know how they used to tell you in elementary school? Ignore them. I'm telling you, ignore them. Go ahead.
He didn't make it.
Todd.
He didn't make it that far, Stacy.
You see, he's still talking, and you
He didn't make
as
it
the
that
host,
far.
can't tell him to shut up.
Okay, Stephen, you gotta let him talk. I'm sorry.
I thought he was done by
You're
now,
sorry.
Stacy.
Yeah,
Go
but
ahead,
you're
Cousin Todd.
dumb, so you aren't
He
allowed
said
to
every
think.
word in the dictionary. Isn't he done?
So anyway, you see how he keeps doing that, and you have no control of this
Oh,
maniac?
he said,
But-
I'm adding on to what, okay, the commenter said, I'm adding on to what Todd was saying about Republicans and that 12-year-olds can get married. That's what they're saying. I don't, somebody who said, you got to love YouTube.
Okay. That viewer is very smart. So anyway, had he done this and stopped, nothing would have happened to him, but he continued to do it. And so now he wants a bigger audience, not just his 2 or 3 friends that he shared this with. He wanted a bigger audience, and now he's in trouble. So, you know, he gets what he deserves. You cannot do that. You're putting people's lives at stake.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Speaking of Fox News, Keith settled with Dominion Voting for $787.5 million. Doesn't that say
they were asking for, the whole thing is 1 billion, 0.6 million, 0.6, 1 billion, 0.6. That's 600 million. So they cut it in half.
So doesn't that admit to Fox's guilt?
No.
Why not?
Because corporations do it all the time to avoid court. You know, it costs more money if you lose in court. It would be a lot more if they had lost a court battle. So maybe and
how would they lose?
And the way things are going right now, anybody who is against the January 6th, anybody who says that not January 6th, anybody who says the election was stolen is going to be persecuted. So whether it's a court,
No, this was about.
That is what they were concerned about, perhaps. I don't know.
No, this is about the mechanisms they use to vote.
Yeah, right, voting. So anybody who says that was
Dominion
anybody has
voting.
a question about that, and the reason I say that is because none of the judges would hear it when it was fresh off the
Would
plate.
hear what?
In 2020, nobody
would hear what?
the case. Not a single court would take it up.
Wait a minute. Wait, would take up what?
Would take up the complaint that
the allegation
was stolen.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Okay,
that's because
is
no
all-
lawyer said what you just said. No lawyer went in court and said what you just said, because a lawyer's not as dumb as you, and a lawyer would lose their right to practice law and be fined for lying. You can't lie to a judge.
Yes,
you lose your license.
Well, that doesn't mean they were lying. How do you know that they were lying?
Because you just said they had proof of voter fraud. They did not.
Well, look, sir, I told you, I said, I didn't say they had proof of voter fraud. I said what they had proof of was that there was some discrepancy in the way that the laws were changed unconstitutionally.
That has nothing to do with Dominion voting.
It doesn't.
Okay, it may not have any to do with the Dominion voting, but there was a lot of times where there were states where they shut the windows, they counted votes, they kicked people out who were conservative Republicans who were be watching. And
okay, so let me share my screen, and we just got Nas on, and I'm sure. Hi, Nas, how you doing?
I'm terrified now after what I just heard.
Mhm.
Hey, Nodge, we're all waving, but you can't see us. Are you watching?
Yeah, I'm watching. Are you the ugly guy?
No, I'm the one on the bottom. I'm the one on the bottom.
So if you look at this, Business Insider News says judge privately said Fox News spokesperson should be nicer after she ratted on other people about courtroom conduct in Dominion case. So that was written by Jacob Shamizian today at 6:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It said he said she should be nicer to people after saying she ratted on others for tweeting in court, which is forbidden. So basically, the judge who oversaw this blockbuster case between Fox News and Dominion Voting Systems privately told the right-wing media network's top lawyer that Fox News spokesperson Kaylee Cronin should be nicer to people after allegedly she ratted on other people for tweeting from court in violation of his rules. She was escorted from the courtroom by a court officer yesterday morning, minutes before the day's proceedings were set to begin in Delaware Superior Court in Wilmington. Stephen, this seems to me she had taken a photo of the courtroom on her phone, but before the judge or any prospective jurors arrived, the officer instructed her to delete the photos, and she apologized and complied. What are your comments about this before I even ask you anything?
I have no comment, no interest, do not care about that. I'd rather go on, talk about what we were talking about just a second ago. The reason people are skeptical of the Dominion machines and the reason that a lot of people do believe that these machines can be fraught with fraud is because other countries have banned these machines and they will not use them to vote in these other countries. And you can look it up because these machines they were found that people were cheating because of these machines. Now, you don't want this. We don't want this in our country. This is third world bullcrap, and even third world countries saying, we don't want these machines here. The only reason they went to court, the only reason they sued, because anybody can sue anybody. And they said maybe some people on the show was like on different Fox shows, which I'm not a huge fan of Fox anymore because they made me mad. So maybe they said, I'm not going to say this, but this is something I really don't believe. But people on every other show does that, except I don't do that. I say what I believe, but people on other shows say things even though they don't believe it because it's a company, whatever. And because President Trump at the time said he believed it, and it's information that they're putting out there to people. And these are opinion shows on Fox. Now, if these people don't have the right to their opinion, these are people saying, this is a news, and I'm Walter Cronkite, and this is just a news, and I don't have any opinions at all. But no, these are people that have their opinions. They can say, and they can come up and say, look, this is what this person's saying. And they're going after Tucker. Tucker brought that woman on, whatever her name is, and he said, when you have some proof, let us know. They don't have enough proof right now. I do believe eventually it's going to come out like everything else comes out, and they're going to prove that these machines are not reliable. That when you have computers, your computer can get hacked. These machines can get hacked. Anything can happen. We should do all the ballots the way we used to do when Todd was young in the 60s.
I got to get Todd. Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Yay. Okay. Stephen just went through this soliloquy of nonsense. One day it's going to come out with no proof. He just said one day
they will.
It's going to come out, and then we all going to be saying all that craziness. They had no proof of what they were saying.
Other countries don't use them.
Shut up. Then he went into, which is typical, they're just an opinion show. Well, that's true. They're not news. Even though they call it Fox News, they're not news, so they don't have to investigate and report the truth.
Neither does CNN or MSNBC.
Yeah, those are news organizations.
They are not news. Todd, you are a fool.
Okay, shut up. Why don't you shut up?
Stephen, you're not even let him talk, and no one interrupted you.
He did.
Anyway,
he interrupted me.
Like I was saying, Stacey, and they're making you look bad because you seem like you have no control over these weirdos. And so don't let them turn your show into the Gong Show. So anyway, there's no proof that Dominion voting machines were doing that. And Fox News knew that. As a matter of fact, Tucker Carlson said the woman was a liar. He said, and Sean Hannity said, I didn't believe her for a minute. These are texts that they gave to that they were doing between each other. But then they would come on the air because they know dumb Stephen and dumb Keith believe them. So they say anything. Oh, yeah, those Dominican. Oh, that's very dangerous. Well, when you do that, you're jeopardizing yourself because somebody's going to sue you for lying, which they did. And then they had to pay them almost $1 billion. Oh, they always do that. Nobody does that. Sure, for maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million. $800 million? Are you insane?
Just nothing.
Okay.
Sounds
All right.
They wanted $1.5 billion.
I'm not
So
talking to you.
You gotta love YouTube. Let me see if I can show this. You gotta love YouTube said they never had any proof. And then they said that's why they settled. They have no proof. Nas, your comment on this settlement by Fox News.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best and the worst of things. Like, it's really good that we're going to get some accountability and that you're not able to just lie about things that you know are untrue and say on air and then have private conversations about how you feel bad about lying, but this is the only way to retain your viewers, so you had to do it. But the downside of this is by Dominion accepting the settlement, we don't get full discovery, and the public is not going to get to see some of these people on the stand and have to answer for the text messages that they were sending, which were the complete opposite of what they were telling people while they were on air. So, you know what I mean? There's a good and a bad of this. And the other side is, this is the sad part. Smart Tech, that part's not even done yet. So that's another lawsuit that's going to come. But it's just funny how much this mirrors. I don't know if y'all watch this, the really popular show on HBO, Succession, right now, and how this is kind of mirroring the life of the character on that show, to where it was this big conservative network that made billions of dollars, and they started getting into trouble because, you know, fact checking and issues that they knew they could exploit their audience with. And that's kind of what we see here. So, you know, here we are years later gearing up for another election, and you still have people convinced that somehow they were cheated and somebody's lying, as opposed to what actually happened, which is they're really a smaller faction of the country than they think they are. They only talk to each other, so they assume everybody's on the Trump train. And what you find out when you really poll the country is, as much as y'all love that guy, there's a lot of people who hate his guts. And that's going to show out in elections. So, yeah, this was a landmark case, man. It's $800 million. And for those that don't know, Rupert Murdoch and these people, the lawyers that they can afford, these are some of the best lawyers in the world. And if they had to agree to that settlement, that means they were dead to rights. You don't just pay out $800 million because you want to. It means you had to.
Sounds to me like.
And can I follow up, because I was going to finish with the fact, which was what Nas was saying, the fact that they did not go to court. I said to Stacy, you're going to have dumb, ignorant people. Hi, Steven.
Hey, little head.
They didn't, they settled because they wanted the money. And as if Fox News would, or any other company would just give out $800 million. They didn't want to do that, but they realized they lied on air over and over and over again. And you made this company suffer. So therefore, you have to pay. Now, they should have, I would have liked it, but the money is the money, $800 million.
It's all about the money.
Why did Rupert pay it?
Because it's all about the money. That's what you do. That's what rich people do. They pay it off. They pay their hookers off, or they pay that Stormy Daniels off. This is what rich people. This is what rich people do. They pay them off, and then they don't have to go to court. They don't have to go through more crap. The thing you should ask yourself is, Dominion really had a case. If Dominion had a case, then they should have followed through to the end. They shouldn't have settled for half the money they were asking for. They should have stayed around till they got the $1.5 billion. The fact that they didn't shows you right there, Todd, that they weren't committed to it. They're just in it for the money. They're whores for the dollar. That's all it is. And the judge wouldn't let the Fox News people have their defense if they wanted. The judge wouldn't let it. And so Fox said, all right, we'll just give them some money. That ain't nothing to us. We make that.
Okay, Stephen, you have to sum it up. Stephen, you can't keep going on. So wait a minute. I got to let Keith in. Keith, what did you want to say?
What the hell was wrong with this person?
The Eighth Amendment says excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed. I believe that it could have been excessive. However, it doesn't matter. Like Stephen said, really,
you believe it could have been excessive based on what? Based on what assessment?
I mean, come on. What 800 million, 800 billion. I mean, this is
800 million.
Yeah, whatever. 800 million.
He likes his cigarette. He liked his cigars with $800 million check. He don't care.
Okay. So, all right. Excuse me. So, Nas.
He's so dumb. How would you know that he doesn't care?
These people are rich.
Be careful to correct things that are not only ridiculous but almost childlike. Like no company pays out $800 million and also
for nothing.
Hurts their credibility going forward.
For nothing.
800 million.
Doing everything else.
It's not 800 billion.
Go away. No,
yeah, million.
Because you lost.
Right. We said billion.
Spectacular fashion.
Fishing back in. Fishing back in, Stacey.
So I want to, since you talked about Tucker Carlson and Fox News, Keith or Stephen had sent me this article said that American soldiers are fighting Russian soldiers in Ukraine. Well, if you look at this article on MSN.com, it says that Tucker Carlson contradicts Fox News with false claims that American soldiers are fighting Russian soldiers in Ukraine. So basically, they're saying he lied. He falsely claimed that American soldiers are currently fighting Russian troops in Ukraine. Stephen or Keith, who wants to address that?
I want to address this. I was searching and I couldn't find. It's very difficult to find because YouTube closes it. I mean, they are censoring the information that we get. That's one of the reasons I watch Fox. I watch Fox because it gives you stories that we really
that are untrue.
And the reason I say that is because, not to change the subject, but just to throw in this wrench, we never talk about the violence. We never talk about the crime that is going on in this country, in these states, with masses of people, young people stealing and rioting and looting right now. As I
lead every news station in the country.
Never talk about it. Never talk about it. Never talk about it. Never talk about it. Never talk about it.
Okay, bye. Move on, Stacey.
The reason I said that was the censoring of information is going on right now. The censoring of information. So we'll never know until this comes out. And so I watch Fox News for that reason. I get news on Fox that I don't get on any other station.
Right, because Fox News lies. That's why they just paid $800 million.
They are staging
excuse me.
Riots.
Excuse me. If you look at this, make your point. Finish it up.
My point is, if they are staging all of these black young people going around rioting and stealing and
what is your point?
If that is a stage, then I tell you, man, that is a pretty nifty stage.
All right, thanks.
Pretty handsome stage.
Okay, go ahead, Stacey.
Stephen, I think you sent this to me, and what this article states is that, and I'm going to show it. What the article states is that Carlson made the claims on Thursday night, shortly after the FBI arrested a 21-year-old Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified intelligence documents connected to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Did you send that to me, Stephen?
I don't think so.
Okay. It says, but while part of the leaked classified materials indicated U.S. service members are present in Ukraine amid the ongoing war, White House spokesman John Kirby released a statement clarifying that the U.S. service members are only there as a part of the embassy defense attaché.
Oh, I don't believe anything hardly what that man said.
Finish what you're saying,
I don't believe what that
Stacey.
man
Don't
says.
let him cut you off.
And you know, they said,
what you were saying,
can I
Stacey?
talk?
No,
Hey, shut up.
Stacey
Like you
was
told me to
just
shut up.
talking.
Shut up,
Yeah.
little
Finish what
head.
you were saying,
Shut up,
Stacey.
little brain.
Finish what you were saying, Stacey.
Okay,
Don't
excuse
allow
me.
them to turn your show into a.
No, it was my turn to talk.
She's not finished, idiot. Shut
I thought it was my
up.
turn to talk.
Excuse
You
me,
thought
everybody.
dumb.
Okay, everybody stop.
He's
Everybody
a little
stop.
squirrel head.
Everybody, Stephen, you got to stop. I'm going to move on because I want to move on. That was a false claim. I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about the horrible, speaking of crime, Keith, that you talked about. We're going to talk about the horrible crime this week or last week with all these young people shot and killed. Two cheerleaders were shot in a Texas supermarket. One is fighting for her life. Ralph Yarl recovers at home after being shot by a man when he went to the wrong door to pick up his brothers. And a 20-year-old woman was shot and killed after her boyfriend turned into the wrong driveway in upstate New York. Let's start with Keith. This is horrible, Keith, because first off, these are problems with people just having guns, shooting anyone, anywhere, anytime, any night.
Yeah.
How do we have, this is gun control, really. How do we control this? What do we do to control this?
Well, once again, it's the lack of education and the lack of training in the proper use of arms. The proper use of arms or the proper use of self-defense. The right of self-defense belongs to everybody. I don't care about your race. I don't care about your gender. I don't care about your any of that stuff. I care that people are safe and protected in their own lives. So
okay,
I train all kinds of people. I train all kinds of people in this same thing. But what happened is the young people are not being trained because they're not being educated. Because
okay, thank you. But that has nothing to do with what actually happened. These aren't okay. When you say young people, Ralph Yarl was 16 and he was shot by an 84-year-old. That's not an incorrectly trained young person. The young lady in upstate, wait a minute. The young lady in upstate New York was 20-something years old. She was shot by a man who was 65 years old. These are not young people with irresponsible guns. The cheerleaders were shot by a young man. But you know, I don't know what you're talking about, but Stephen, let me bring you in here. We have to do something.
Stephen, you can't go from one crazy to another crazy.
Keith, I'll tell her.
You are
young and old.
Let Keith finish his point. Go ahead.
Say young and old people.
I don't care what age they are. If they lack training. I'm talking about types of training. And I'll let Stephen pick up on that. But
thank you.
I'm not going to get anybody in that situation.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna tell her. That young and old people need training. They need not just to have the weapons, they need to know how to use them and what circumstances to use them, what's behind your target, what kind of caliber you're using. Is it going to go through something or through a wall? You have to know all this stuff to be able to have this stuff. But there's no solution. There's no gun control solution except going house to house and taking everybody's guns. That's the only way in this country you're going to stop any gun violence that goes on, because it's going to happen. We have more guns than we have more people. So it feels like we need more. You're like, Todd, we need more gun control laws. That's what we need. No, Todd, we don't need no more gun control laws. We have enough laws. We don't need that. What we need is people like Keith said, we need people to be educated. We need people to know what you're doing.
And
this really quick, this 84-year-old man had been watching TV. He's been seeing people being pushed into trains. He's been seeing people get their ass beat. He's been seeing one person get beat by 50 people. And then he had somebody show up on his step and he scared the hell out of him and he shot him. I think he's going to get off. I don't think he did it because he's a bad person. I think he did it because he's scared to death. And he should get like he should get something. But if he's 84 years old, he's never done anything in his life, he shouldn't be spending any time in jail. What he needs to do is go talk to people, go get an education, and see if he can help the world to make it a better place. And I'm glad that kid that he got hit is doing well now. He's doing better.
Thank you, Cousin Todd.
Do you hear the stupidity? He was scared. He's scared. So that means this is what you're saying, Ding Dong. If he gets scared, shoot him. And because you're scared. He's scared, shoot.
Listen,
You sound ridiculous. He had no business shooting that boy through the door. He never even opened the door.
Well, let's see and find out. Was it a screen door? Was it his actual door?
Anyway,
Did he shoot through
I'm
the
not
actual
going
door?
through your Trump craziness.
I'm not a Trump crazy. I'm not a Trump
Okay,
sycophant.
shh. He had no business shooting that boy. He could have spoke to him through the door. What do you want? Get away from my door. I'm calling the police.
Calling the police.
Or nothing.
What about just call the police?
Whatever you like. So shot him. That has nothing to do with being trained. He was trained.
He was an old man that was scared.
He deliberately shot him. So there's no training.
Because he hated him. Because he was mad at him. Because he was black and he because of his race.
Can you shut him up?
I'm sorry, you got to stop.
So
he never stopped talking so we can get an edge word. We can't get in yet.
Do you hear this?
Todd.
Do you hear this?
He
Stop
never
saying
stopped
my
talking.
name. Keep saying his name.
Stephen.
So
he never stops talking.
The nonsense about, and Stephen needs to be off this show. He should get suspended. Now I'm saying this publicly. He should be suspended. So this is what we're going to do here. I can see I got to take over. Either he gets suspended if he continues that behavior, or I will be suspended because I won't be back. We're not going to have this into a gong show. He can find
I'd like to see I see you in heaven, but I ain't holding my breath.
That show. So
all right,
now,
excuse me.
Anyway,
ahead,
like I
Cousin
was
Todd, make
saying,
your point.
they were talking about training. They didn't need any training. That old man knew what he was doing. He shot him twice, once in the head. That was deliberate. So training and how to shoot. And these people, they're gun trigger happy. You go and pull in their driveway, you don't belong here. So just start shooting. Where is the law? Aren't we a law-abiding country where you call the police if that happens, if you're afraid? The girl now, and I'm sure this has happened to plenty of people, when you open somebody's door because you think that's your car, that has happened to me before. And you realize, oh, that's not my car. Well, that person followed her and shot her and her girlfriend.
Well, wait, let me tell you this, Cousin Todd. The cheerleader, it was two cheerleaders. They were coming from a competition. And one cheerleader she said to the gentleman, hey, I'm sorry. We made a mistake and opened the door. And she said he put his hands up and then took his gun out and started shooting at them.
Crazy. He was nuts.
Followed her.
He was crazy. He was a crazy person.
And so here's another person with a gun, because everybody should be allowed to have a gun. And these people are getting killed, and there's nothing happening. Nothing.
Okay, let me get Nas in here.
And just like this idiot said, he shouldn't do no time. He's scared. And that when he see a black face, he gets scared.
He's 84 years old, man, and he didn't look like he had a lot of sense.
Go ahead, Nas.
Why don't you take Keith over his house with you and see what happens to Keith?
Nas.
Yeah, so basically, the stories that we've talked about the last few minutes, these are all connected. So when you have like a powerful mass media network of disinformation and misinformation that pumps fear and paranoia, and the idea of the other is always out to get you. Every news network in the country is leading with crime, and things are out of control, and all these other things, and law and order is needed. And when you pump people full of that, people tend to react. Now, when we talk about some of the gun owners in this country whose pipe dream is for some intruder to violate the castle doctrine and give them the right to shoot that person. When you have people dreaming of things like that, well, they tend to act it out in real life in situations that don't require it. So someone pulling into a driveway, someone knocking at a door, because your fear switch is permanently turned on and you get your reinforcement every day. You listen to Tucker and you get yourself right. You're always in that mood. So then the situation happens and you end up almost killing someone or killing someone. And then your defense is, well, I was scared, or I didn't know who this person was. It's a ridiculous way to live, but we got a huge part of America that actually lives that way. And when you think about the story of the young kid, the 16-year-old, remember, he's going to pick up his brothers, went to the wrong house, knocked on the wrong door. Right. The guy shoots him once in the head, opens the screen door, shoots him again, and says, "Get out of here." So the kid, pulls himself together, crawls, walks however he can to the houses next to the one where he was shot at to knock on the door to call for help. And they refuse to open the door or talk to him until he gets to the third house where the woman, I guess, takes some pity on him and says, "Well, I'll call the police for you." But she didn't bring him inside or give any aid or anything like that. So when you have a huge clump of the country who thinks like that and feels like that, this is kind of, you reap what you sow. This is where we are. So
crime is up, Stacey. Crime is up. All crime is up right now. We're not delusional.
I'm almost finished. I didn't address you at any point. So when you have people in a situation like this, Rupert Murdoch and all these people who've made billions off of these people's prejudice, paranoia, and ignorance, if you keep pumping them full of that system, what do you think you're going to get? More of the same. And the whole crime thing, look, you can tell people who are alive now stuff like that, but I'm a kid from the 90s, dude. I grew up in the 90s in real gang warfare territory. Like, you can't tell me anything about violence in America because I saw it for real. When there were turf battles over the drug trade and the gangs were going at each other and there were shootings all of the time in situations, man, like, dude, what you're looking at right now, what these kids are doing right now, yeah, it's an uptick in crime, but it's nowhere near what the 90s were. And some of us kind of enough and experienced enough to know what that difference is. So
bullcrap.
There's data on it. You can pull the data on it. You don't have to listen to the opinions of people who don't know anything and who've been wrong on every topic that this show has ever presented.
Nope.
Look up for yourself, and don't look on YouTube, where I guess Keith does his research, where he said
that's all they can do is try to beat us up.
YouTube is not a research center, sir. I mean,
big mouth and squirrel head.
Where to go? Can you tell us what?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Whoa. What'd you say, Stephen?
No, I put him on mute. He can't say anything. I wanted to
watch your mouth when you're talking to me, Stephen.
You gotta love YouTube.
All right, big mouth.
I put up.
Have you looked in a mirror, Stephen?
I put up a note that says, "Side note: this is a good show. You all need to promote." And that was from You Gotta Love YouTube. Thank you, You Gotta Love YouTube, who's watching us now. We appreciate that, all of us, no matter what we're saying. I want to move on. Let me share my screen. Two things. We have some breaking news and we have some interesting news. I'll start with the first one. Oklahoma County Commissioner resigns after leak of audio discussing killing journalists and lynching. McCurtain County Commissioner Mark Jennings, if you can look at my screen, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Has quit his post. Office of Governor Kevin Stitt says. This was written by Greg Norman and Danielle Wallace, Fox News. Oklahoma County Commissioner who allegedly was caught in a leaked audio recording making death threats against two local journalists and talking about lynching Black people has resigned from his position. Keith, I want to start with you. Why does everyone want to focus on and be fearful of Black people? You have the shootings of the young man, Ralph Yarl. You have this particular thing. Why is everyone so scared of Black people?
Well, because basically right now, and I just want to comment just quickly in answering this question.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No.
Answer my question.
To answer your question, I would say I go back further than Nas. I grew up in the 70s, and I remember back in South Central LA where I grew up. I don't know where he was in Chicago. I don't know where he was, but I was back in the days of the 91 riot. I had a business. My business had to close down. I had a martial arts school. And I remember Reginald Denning being pulled out of his truck by black guys and beaten half to death, a brick thrown at his head. So you talk about why are they afraid of black kids or why are they afraid of blacks? Well, blacks have this stigma, and I know because I'm black. And I grew up in the South Central. I grew up where the Crips and the Blood, I knew where the Crips started. I knew Raymond Washington. I knew Tookie Williams. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I knew who they were. They came around in my block. But basically, these people who started the Crips, these are the people that were around at the time. And I do remember, like I said, back in the 90s, I was there. And when the riots occurred in LA, South Central, and I remember those types of things happening. My grandmother wouldn't even let me out of the house. But anyway, the whole point is you say they're afraid of blacks. Well, blacks grow up without fathers. And many of them are trained, and many of them run the streets, and many of them become gang members. Not all, but that's it.
Plans to say this type of stuff to ignorant dudes.
So that is it. And see, Nas has no idea.
Ran the streets.
You don't know my background, so you need to.
Okay, thank you.
Chill.
Thank you.
I just know an inability to practice.
Okay, so Stephen, why is everyone afraid of black people and think they're going to be physically harmed by them?
Do you see huge groups of Asians terrorizing people, going into stores and beating the hell out of people, ripping people out of their cars? Do you see huge groups? Can anybody mute him?
No, ma'am.
Do you see huge groups of Europeans going through stores or going through places and beating the hell out of people?
Yes, ma'am.
50 to 1? No, you don't. You don't see 50 white people beating one black guy's ass or one black woman's ass like the woman got her ass beat by 50 people. You don't see that. You don't see a bunch of Asians. You don't see a bunch of Mexicans or Venezuelans or El Salvadorians. Maybe the reason people are scared of them because these people are the ones that are going around terrorizing people. Maybe they are the terrorists, not these white people, not these white guys that are Trump supporters. Maybe they're not the terrorists like Joe Biden and the left think. Maybe it's these people that are actually terrorizing people. Maybe they are the terrorists.
Yes.
Maybe
Okay,
something should be done with these people. Maybe these Democrats that run these little crappy cities, maybe they shouldn't let criminals out of prison so they can keep doing this. They're making black people look bad because they let these black people that should go to jail forever, they're letting them out of jail. Like that guy that wants to get Trump up in New York. He lets people out that kill people, but he wants Trump on some BS, blowjob BS. But they let people out that are rapists and murderers. And Todd supports this kind of guy because he's going after Trump because him and Nas hate Trump because they're not smart enough to figure out that they're smashing you in your face too, guys. You're the ones that are getting smashed. You're the ones that are being used. You are the ones that look stupid.
How long are you going to let him go on?
Stephen,
Thank you, Stacey. I'm done.
Okay.
The thing about having a racist enemy is you hope he's stupid.
Okay, cousin Todd and then Nas.
Okay. You allowed him to rant like a psychopath. And look at his Uncle Tom. He laughs. He's talking about you, Coon.
Yeah, there's a comment. Uncle, no, you gotta love YouTube said. Let's be honest. There's a bit of truth to what Uncle Ruckus just said. And then you gotta love YouTube says, keep it real, Todd. We need to get these young kids together. And then you gotta love YouTube said, calm down, Stephen. You're about to stroke out.
Okay. Now let me just ignore that YouTuber or whatever he's calling himself and say that that was a racist rant you just heard. They should put those people in jail. What people are you talking about? Not white people. Those were the ones that were storming the Capitol. Remember when they were breaking down the doors and beating up the police? Remember Blue Lives Matter? They would be, you have Keith's face up. So the Blue Lives Matter doesn't matter anymore, right? And so, and perhaps, he forgot, and so did his boyfriend, the history of America. Europeans are the murderers. That means you, Stephen, came in and killed up the natives that live here. Remember? They enslaved African people. Remember?
Your people did.
So
your
who
people
are
lined
they?
them up in cages. Nobody went into
Okay,
Africa.
why are you letting him talk, Stacy?
Stephen, you gotta let him talk.
So those are the people who are the terrorists. When they're blowing up, they didn't call them terrorists in the 60s when they blew up churches with children in them. There were 50 bombings back then, but you didn't hear of them. And so they are the terrorists and they are the invaders. If you are white and you are living in America, you, in fact, not the Mexicans, you are the invaders.
All right. So I'm going to read the comment and then Nas and then Aguna. The comment from the commenter is, look what just happened in Chicago and not too long ago in Philly. These young black kids are out of control. Don't dodge it.
Okay,
no, young black kids, young kids, period.
Hold on, Ty. Hold on, Ty. So let's not dodge it. So when we talk about criminality amongst any group, are you saying it because they're black they're doing this? Or are we talking about socioeconomic conditions? Are we talking about class level in crime being correlated? Meaning your skill level in crime is going to be based on what? Your class status. If you're born of a certain class, you're going to embezzle money. You're going to scam people in ways through crypto or something like that. If you're of a different class where everything is physical, you're going to use what? Your hands or a weapon, but it's still the same criminality. So when you go to Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and all these places in rural white America where people are really poor and they're fighting over the opioid trade, guess what? That's not because they're white that they're doing that. They're doing that because of the conditions that they're in and the skills that they have in order to what? Make their next meal and in order to make a living. Crime and class are correlated in America. You can study it easily and you can get an understanding on not only why things happen, but how we can prevent these things from happening. But I tell you one thing, you're not going to prevent anything by saying this group of people is the criminals, and because of this people, that's why they have the reputation. Like all of that is untrue. It's not helpful. It doesn't get us closer to answering any of the questions or finding a solution. So people are going to have to grow up a little bit and understand individualized crime is not attached to the group.
So my point is,
dude robs the Dunkin' Donuts and he's black. That has nothing to do with me.
So
and if you see those two things as the same, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Excuse me, you gotta love. YouTube said, of course, it's not because they're black. They just happen to be black. It's the parenting. Yada, yada, yada.
Wait a minute, Stacey. Let's deal with this. Do we think white people have a secret sauce on parenting? Or any other group? No. We're still talking about class level and people's either ability to secure funds or inability to secure funds.
They said stay on topic. They're telling you now to stay on topic.
Well, that is the topic. If we're talking about criminality by group, you define it by class, not by color. If you define it by color, you'll never find an answer to anything. Matter of fact, in the areas that are hotspots now for crime, 70 years ago, who was in those areas? Irish, Italian, and other people who were marginalized in the American economy, and they turned to what? Bootlegging. And then they fought over the bootlegging trade. Was it because they were Irish or Italian or Jewish? No. It was their class level at the time and them fighting over it.
Beating the hell out of people for no reason.
I gotta bring Aguna in. I gotta bring Aguna in.
And they called those Irish, those new Irish, the new niggers.
Aguna.
That was what they were called.
We were talking. My question, Aguna, let me tell you what my question was. And my question was about the Oklahoma County Commissioner and how he wanted to kill a few journalists and talking about lynching black people and how he resigned today. So my question is, why does everyone not like black people?
Well, it's not just black people, but I mean, there's always a scapegoat. There's always stereotypes. There's always, you hear it on the show a lot where, the whataboutisms and the things, the anecdotal evidence to point to one to one demographic or another based on the narrative at the time. So I think it's opportunistic. A lot of times when it's the sleight of hand where you want to focus on certain groups when other things are at play that you don't want them to focus on. So it's a way of gaslighting in most cases. Sorry, I missed the Stephen rant. By the way, I was hoping I would get on the show
You're
before.
not sorry.
Oh, you can go back and hear it. Everybody can go back and hear it.
I missed you guys.
Keith wanted to make a comment.
Miss you, Guna.
Keith, you have to unmute your mic.
Yeah, I wanted to say this. I'll bet you. I mean, I'm not a betting man, but I'll bet you. I like what the commenter said about parenting. I'll bet you though, Aguna and his wife. I'll bet you because of his kids, you would never find out they're looting. Because why? Not because of social economic conditions, but because of the parenting of Aguna and his wife.
That is not true. That's not true.
That is true.
You probably should stop making
Because
bets.
they're good parents.
You're gonna make, sir. That's a dumb bet.
That's a dumb bet. But let me say this. Do you
Wow.
remember when Black Lives Matter was marching and some of the children were looting stores and stuff like that, which always happens when you have people that are protesting something. You always get a few in the crowd that's going to take advantage. Well, this one little boy, you remember his mother came and like beat him over the head because he was in this. Well, that's good parenting, but he was out there stealing and
Right.
carrying on. So this thing about not good parents, that's not true.
Where was his father?
Why are you interested in where his father was? Where is your father?
And digging deeper into it. But
All right. So I want
Again,
to.
I asked the same question. Do white people have a secret sauce on great parenting that no one else on this earth, obviously?
Well, yeah,
Right.
I think they do.
It's called
because
ranch
they had
dressing.
black
It's called
women
ranch dressing.
nursing their babies.
Okay, so excuse me. We're gonna start our round table. I'm gonna start with Keith, then Stephen, then Nas, Aguna, and Todd. So it's Keith, Stephen, Nas, Aguna, and Todd. I want you to touch on the Supreme Court decisions with religious freedom. I want you to touch on these
Religious
mass
freedom.
shootings.
Wait a minute. If you're going to do Supreme Court, why don't you do the stay?
I did.
About the
Okay,
birth
do the
con-
stay on the birth control, the
Okay.
abortion pill.
And then the
Keith,
freedom of liberties. Okay, religious liberties. All right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to this is my opinion. And I think that the whole problem is the lack of fathers for discipline of the children. And that means that the young daughters, knowing that they have to respect their bodies and not mutilate their bodies or abort babies or even have babies out of wedlock, all of that seems to be cast aside, all of that teaching and training that used to be, at least in my days, the whole thing of, just not having sex until you get married. I mean, that was the best way to prevent abortions altogether. But, we don't talk about that anymore.
Keith,
So,
you have to move forward. You can't stay on something. You have to say, okay, this is what I think about the Supreme Court and the decision to stay abortion. This is what I think. Wait, I'm telling you how to answer it, and I'm telling Stephen, Nas, Aguna, and Todd how to answer this. You can't go on and on about your opinion. This is okay. Wait a minute.
All right.
First, I want to say about the Oklahoma County Commissioner. This is just for example. Or first, I want to say about the Supreme Court staying the abortion pill, and then make it succinct and quick. Go ahead, Keith.
It was a good order. How about that? Next. It's good. It's a good decision. That's all you want to hear.
Okay, religious freedoms about the Supreme Court.
The religious
and Alito. You don't know about that?
I don't know what it has to do with religious freedom.
Okay, Todd will talk about it. Todd will talk about it.
Well,
all right. Anything else that you want to talk about that you can just make one statement about what you think?
Well, again, on the violence, on the situation there, I think that was a great conversation we had. We need to have more of a conversation on that. that is a real problem in our society, because if we lose the civil society, then we have nothing. The Constitution means nothing. The law means nothing. And every way from the top down, no one respects the law. That means whether you're a DA Bragg, or whether you are just a kid on the street, whether you're black, white, brown, transgender, or whatever you are. If you can't respect the law, then guess what? The God who gave us the law is going to definitely judge us. And this nation will be judged, just like Sodom and Gomorrah.
God didn't give us the law. These are the laws of the land.
God gave us the law. The law, do not disrespect your fellow man, but respect and love your fellow man.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. I do want to add in here, Stephen, if you can look at the screen, I have up a federal judge just today. This is the breaking news. A federal judge just today denied a request by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office for a temporary restraining order to stop a House Judiciary Committee subpoena of former prosecutor Mark Pomerantz. So go ahead. What are your comments succinctly, Stephen?
Not about this, but about the former.
Whatever
Yes.
you want to do. The
Supreme
abortion bill,
Court.
Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, the next day pill, and then what it was called, and that was this pill, the abortion pill. Is that like something you do the next day, or the? Is that right, Todd? Todd, is that right?
Point. No,
I mean,
you're never right. But go on and give me your
No,
point.
if that's what I'm asking, I don't keep up with the abortion too much. But if it's like the next day pill or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know why people have that much problem with it if they support women taking the pill. And it's not a violent abortion. I don't know. It's just and if the Supreme Court wants to kind of chill out for a little while and try to figure it out, maybe that's what they have to do. I just hope they get it right. And Keith, I just want to tell you that even married women have abortions because they kind of plan out, they'll have a kid, then they'll abort, then they'll have a kid, then they might abort, and they plan out stuff like that, which to me is just ridiculous, but I ain't judging nobody. I'm not the judge. You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird to me. But the one about the religious freedom, if whatever the religion is, I think religious freedom should be honored, no matter what religion, because that's the First Amendment.
Well, it was about okay, that's right. Because who's next? Nas.
I mean, I think this is a terrible decision. I think there's going to be really bad outcomes based on this, and ultimately, it's this simple. If you're going to take away the ability to terminate a pregnancy, then you should have a robust safety net there, meaning daycare, meaning Head Start, meaning OGYBN, like all of the access to things that women are going to need in order to raise those children. But when we have, pretty much all states are taking away those resources, shutting down centers where typically the poor would get that kind of healthcare help. If that's not available, you're kind of pushing them from one thing into the other. And what this is going to lead to is a rise in domestic violence in partners who shouldn't be together and people who don't want to have a kid, and you're forcing them to have a kid. That typically ends badly for the woman.
And Nas, to finish your point, those are the people that Stephen was just talking about, and Keith. They don't have fathers, and that's why they're black and bad. They don't have any good parenting. And you're telling this woman who doesn't want a baby to have it anyway.
So you disagree. You say they do have good parenting and fathers, right?
No, that's not what he was saying. Thank you, Nas Aguna. That's not what he was saying, and you're taking me off track.
Yeah, I think we're not talking about the role of government in this decision. I think a decision for a woman to terminate a pregnancy is a very private decision between her doctor and her partner, right? So the role of government in this, in which we're trying to say, government should, somehow intervene in the private affairs of people, that gets a little dicey. And also, when you look at these pills, they're not just about terminating pregnancies. Also, if you were to have, if the pregnancy, the baby doesn't have a heartbeat, this is the same medication that they would use to help pass the baby, even though versus taking it to full term. knowing that there's no opportunity for life there. So you can't just have these blanket policies driven by government. Again, this is about government oversight, government overreach in our private affairs in these type of situations. They're very private, and no women are jumping at the bit to get abortions or to take these pills. It's not something that they want to do. It's something that happens under certain circumstances and is private. As far as religious freedom, I think religious freedom should always be protected. I know the thing is about protecting the freedom itself, but there's also consequences. So I don't know, and particularly in this case, I don't know if this is the birthday cake situation in which someone didn't want to put together a gay cake or whatever like that.
This was for workers. This was
For
about
workers
wanting certain days off for religious reasons.
Okay, so in that case, it's twofold here because one, companies are private, corporations can decide, they can accommodate certain things, or you can choose not to work for that company. So even though I think religious freedom should be protected, it's also up to that particular company to determine which holidays they recognize. And again, a lot of times companies recognize a certain amount of holidays a year. And so, it gets into that situation where you have to decide whether or not you want to work for that company or not.
So it's the Supreme Court seems sympathetic to postal worker who didn't work Sundays in dispute over religious accommodations. That's what that was about. But
yeah, they have a choice to work for the. Yeah, I mean, he can decide whether or not to work there or not. See, I think, sometimes some of these companies are have floating holidays to accommodate if you want to take certain days off. But I mean, you as an individual in this country have a choice of where you want to work. So there's that.
What were you going to say, Keith?
Sundays. Why does the post office work on Sundays anyway? Why is it open?
Because they have so few people working there, they have to make up what they don't get done during the week.
Oh, okay.
So, and the other thing that I want to talk about before
they get paid overtime or something. They get paid
overtime. Yeah.
Excuse me,
right.
Nas and Aguna, Draymond Green and his suspension. Should he have gotten suspended or not by stomping the other player?
Yeah, so,
personally,
about this one. Draymond, of course, is a ridiculous person and will act ridiculously most of the time. And I think this suspension was more about his reputation because, he's gotten so many technical suspensions and everything else throughout his career. Sabonis was wrong to grab his foot, but Draymond was wrong to stomp on him, yes. But the part where he got suspended was when he ran over and stood on the chairs and yelled at the crowd and dared them. Adam Silver, I'm sure, had Matt at the Palace flashbacks, and that's why he got suspended, man.
But were you not entertained? Were you not entertained?
It was pretty entertaining.
It was entertaining.
No.
So Aguna, I gotta get
Aguna. Tell us about the 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, he does have to. Yeah. Yeah, well, so the Sixers are up 2 games. We'll see what happens because it looks like they're on a collision course with Boston, and Boston put them out last time. So it'll be an interesting series if it gets to that point. But we should beat Brooklyn.
Okay, yeah. And Draymond Green, Aguna?
Oh, Draymond Green, again, as entertaining as it was, I think, you gotta have some consequences for some behavior. I mean, you can't just go crazy like that and not expect, to be held accountable.
And the Aguna, one more thing, Aguna, the elephant in the room with the Eagles.
What, the signing?
Oh, with the big contract, yeah. So it's a very team-friendly deal. He well-deserved. It's actually a good news story for the league because he bet on himself. I mean, everybody doubted him. I had my doubts. He had an excellent season. He took the team to the Super Bowl, came 3 points short.
Who are you talking about? People may not know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts, I mean, he earned every penny. For now, he's the highest paid player in the league right now, and he's setting the market. I mean, he's actually getting paid, less guaranteed than Deshaun Watson, which is why, a lot of these owners are trying to reset that quarterback market. But, until Burrow and, Herbert, they're going to probably get a lot more. But I think it's a good news story for someone who was drafted in a later round, wasn't a first round pick, he came onto a roster that had a first round pick already on it, took over the team, took it to the Super Bowl, and now, he's rewarded with being the highest paid NFL player right now in the league. So, it's a good news story. I'm happy for him. He's an outstanding young man. He carries himself very well. So we'll see. I think it's good for the team because, it gets him locked in, and then now you can go into the draft and go into the second half of free agency with your franchise quarterback in place.
Okay, thank you. And I never made a cousin Ty. You're looking at me like I'm forgetting something. What did you want to say?
Oh no, I was just looking at the time, and usually we are out by 9.
Hey Todd, I must say you are doing Beach Street well. You're dressed like a Bronx rocker or a Beach Street. So very nostalgic there, buddy. I appreciate it.
And I would like to say, one of my areas of concern is homelessness in America. There should be no one homeless in America. If there's anything you can do in this country to help stop homelessness in America, please do so. What were you saying, Nas?
That's socialism.
I was trying to be funny.
That was hilarious, Nas. Hilarious.
What did he say? I didn't even hear what he said.
That's socialism.
Oh. To our first responders in our community.
Wait. You never came to me or Nas.
I did. I did go to Nas, right, Nas?
You did not.
And you interrupted Steven.
She asked you, Todd. She asked you if there was something you wanted, and you said no.
I said, was there something you wanted?
Yes, that's not what you were talking about.
Interrupt Steven. I will pay somebody to walk around and interrupt Steven every time he speaks.
Well, I just wanted to say about the Supreme Court, which you never did ask me. You asked me were you missing something? But the Supreme Court, I don't know when this is going to end. First, a ban on abortion. Then I remember what is the black guy's name? Uncle Tom, not Tom, Clarence Thomas. He said they should re-examine birth control and gay marriage. So they did. So here we are now dealing with birth control pills. So where does this end? This is the abortion pill. So next is birth control pills. Is that what's next? What about the morning after pill?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the morning after pill.
I know that's what you were talking about, but I wasn't intending on
So
helping
it's not
you.
the same thing? It's not
I'm
the same
not
thing,
helping
Todd?
you. You have to do your
Todd,
own
which one would you
investigation.
take? Which one would you take, Todd?
I would take something different, but you should have taken it so you didn't get yourself knocked up by Keith. So now, this is what I'm saying. Where's this going to end? The morning after pill is the next stop, which is different from this pill that they're talking about, the Cristo. I forget the name of it. That's different. But they all do the same thing, prevent pregnancy. And
no, it doesn't prevent it. It kills it after they're pregnant.
Right.
Now the morning after pill, you're pregnant, aren't you? That's why you're taking it, because the condom broke.
Yes, you're already pregnant, so you're not preventing pregnancy. You want to prevent pregnancy.
It depends on when you think is conception. Well, it depends. That goes back into the conception debate, right?
And
keep your genitalias in your pants,
so
and you
anyway,
have to make a child.
My point was, this is a slippery slope, and it's a never-ending saga of how much are we going to control women.
Okay, thank you. I do want to show you on my screen, Florida bans teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation through 12th grade. Real fast comment, Keith.
I just wanted to finish my point about white
you can't have a
Republican men.
No,
you let Stephen go on and on and on. White Republican men who are in their 50s, who've been married for 20 or 30 years with 2 children. That's peculiar. They're using some form of birth control, or else they would have 6, 7, 8 children. So
Todd,
why
you've
is
never
it
been married.
okay?
They're probably not
Why
having
is
sex.
shut up? Why is it okay for these white Republican men, their wives, to use birth control, but nobody else?
Oh my God. Anyway,
Okay. Thank you, Keith. On this Florida banning of teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation through 12th grade.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Yay!
Okay, Stephen.
Oh, I'm 100% agree with him. You identify who you are, gender identity, gender affirmation. All of that is bull crap. Leave these children alone. They're trying to force these children to take these medication, to get their body parts cut off, and to make them.
They're forcing them to do that. Okay.
They're forcing them to do that.
Let's move on.
Can't make up their own minds. Yeah, they're forcing them to do it.
But they can make up their own minds to have guns.
Can y'all even hear me?
Now we can.
Y'all hear me?
Now we can.
Yes.
I mean, this is poor old Ron. Old Ron DeSantis is so desperate and pitiful right now.
Oh, he's so desperate. And he's a closet queen.
Some kind of coalition to get things rolling. Trump keeps hitting him in the head every day. His numbers are tanking. You know, Ron's desperate, man. So he's willing to throw any Hail Mary out there. So this doesn't surprise me at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Agruna.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to talk about through third grade or elementary school, but this seems like a stretch in the sense of, why are you using government to now tell us what we should learn? Now, again, I don't think there should be a lot of emphasis on this, but to try to ban something that originally all the way up to this point was never a problem, again, you're looking to, it's the broken glass syndrome. All the glass makers were running around breaking glasses during the riots in order to get business. Same thing DeSantis is doing here. I mean, he's fighting Mickey Mouse. I mean, you're doing things that are, you're trying to drum up things that really don't matter, right? So to ban, once kids get past a certain age, I mean, they're going to have a lot of education through social media and other avenues anyway. So to try to limit the school system in some capacity in order to even engage or to help shape and to help guide. I mean, school education is for guidance, not necessarily indoctrination, right? So you're trying to indoctrinate the opposite way by trying to tell people what to learn, where to learn, and all this other stuff. So I just don't think that's the role of government. I think a lot of this should be on the school system and the parents to help to shape and determine, but not to do this blanket ban in which the government should know more than the individuals on what to teach. Again, that's a slippery slope of fascism. So if people can't recognize that, I don't know what can.
This is what the majority of the parents want, Aguna. The majority of the parents do not want their kids indoctrinated like that.
No, I don't think that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, it's the fascism. DeSantis is the fascism.
Where's the fascism? I like your new word. You bring one up again next week. Bring you a new word.
Would you want that?
What?
Well, why don't you look up what it means? Why don't you read a book and look up what it means?
It's not what it means. What you're saying is not what fascism is.
Aguna, would you want
then explain what does it mean then? Explain what does it mean, Stephen?
When you have government working hand in hand with business, and that's fascism. That's nothing to do with fascism.
Yeah,
that's fascism. That is not what fascism is.
This is the people saying they don't want their children to be indoctrinated to think that it's okay for them people to come into the school and say, you know what, I think you should be a girl.
So if that's the case, you put it to a general vote. If that's the case, put it to a general vote. Don't have the legislator determine it. Okay. Put it to a general vote. Put it to a general vote. He didn't. He made his own determination by executive order.
Aguna, is that okay with you?
No, you're avoiding the question. He didn't put it to a general vote.
Okay, thank you.
He didn't put it to a general vote, so don't say it's what the people want.
Is that what?
Go ahead.
It's the polls.
On the air live, can you spell fascism right now? Go.
It's Cousin Todd.
What did Big Mouth say? What did Big Mouth say? I didn't hear him.
Okay.
Cousin Todd.
Stephen doesn't know what fascism means. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know what it means.
I just told you what it meant.
Cousin Todd.
You said business and government determine. You said some nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense. When the government works with business, they can work directly with them. That's fascism.
Teaching of gender identity.
That is not. That is not fascism.
I can't hear you.
what is your comment on Florida banning teaching of gender
Okay.
identity and sexual orientation through 12th grade?
Ms. DeSantis is a mess. Now, he's a mess in one way, but he's smart in another. He wants dumb, ignorant people to vote for him. This is why he says things like this. Hey, they're going to indoctrinate your children. And then Stephen said, well, they don't want people coming in saying, hey, you know what? You should be a girl. And that doesn't happen when you're in 12th grade, dum-dum. Surprise! So nobody's doing that. They're just making every child comfortable. From the gay child to the transgender child, they're comfortable and they're allowed to be. That's it. No special treatment. Just be allowed
to our first responders in our communities. You make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do and sacrificing your lives so that we are free to choose whatever we say on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of, guess who? Aguna.
Who was late.
The Nigerian moderate Republican.
He might get suspended next week, too.
Stephen.
The weirdo and crazy person.
Independent thinker.
And he's not an independent thinker. He's anything but. He's a Trump
constitutional
supporter.
Conservative. Nas, we
know
appreciate you joining us. And my cousin Todd.
Fascism means business.
Let's keep this conversation going on Twitter. Not Twitter.
Google it, Stephen.
I know when you Google
Instagram,
anything, you get what you get.
Instagram, check our Instagram page out.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Twitch. What else did I forget? Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to Sporlitiks on our YouTube. We'll talk to you next week. Good night.
Now, who was that YouTube person trying to come for me?
What?
That was Angela. It was Angela. She just has a different alias.
Who's the YouTube person? It's probably
look, the YouTube person just said, and me. I don't know who it is.
I don't know about that
You gotta
YouTube
love
person.
YouTube.
Yeah.
That's the person's name.
Anytime
we appreciate him being there.
Anytime you agree with Stephen.
Gotta love YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube person. You did great.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Hey,
Bye.
Todd, it was nice working with you, Todd. I'm sorry you have to leave because Steve's not going anywhere. Steven's he's in.
Todd is not going anywhere. Todd would be so lost. He'd be underneath that desk he's sitting at right now, and he would just sit there all day being sad he wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
No, you're going crazy, and you're going to get suspended because we're going to have a long conversation about you. You won't be there, but all the rest of us are going to have a long conversation because you're crazy.
You and all of your personalities are going to have a meeting about me.
You cannot disrespect the host. When the host tells you to shut your pie hole, you shut your pie hole.
You talked more than I did. You talked more than anybody.
No, you
thought you were Nas tonight and Aguna put together.
Thanks, Stephen, for coming on. I hope Stephen.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Stephen, for agreeing to marry me.
Don't give up, Stephen.
Why do we have to get married? Why does it always have to turn sexual?
Sexual? You just said married people don't have sex.
That's sexual. That's what Michael Jackson said. It's not sexual.
You just said married people don't have sex. You're flip-flopper. That's
that's true. People are married for a long time. The old joke is they're not having sex. They don't need to use any protection or anything because they're not having sex.
Yeah, that's why you want to get married to them.
I don't want to get married. Last time I was married like 20 years ago, man. I don't want to get married.
And young people aren't having kids anymore.
That's true. You know why? Because they're using protection or they're not having sex. One or the other. I've seen a lot of studies where a lot of young people aren't having sex anymore.
Okay, I have to
That's going to make it really hard for Todd.
Yeah. Well, we have
to. Don't you worry about me. Goodbye.
All right. Good night.
Bye. Y'all have a great night.
See, Nas doesn't know my history. He doesn't know where I came